Mr. Van Dyke, will you confirm before this committee right now that if you're confirmed, you'll be fair and impartial to all litigants before you on the merits of their claims and their legal arguments, and not on the basis of any personal characteristic?
Absolutely, Senator, absolutely.
Can you commit to having an open mind in all cases and to not prejudge the outcome of cases and to follow the law according to where it leads you?
Absolutely, Senator.
Mr. Van Dyke, do you have any personal animus against LGBT persons?
None at all, Senator.
Could you adjudicate cases in which they're involved impartially and without bias toward or against any of them?
Absolutely, Senator.
You wouldn't be influenced in any way on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity?
I would not, Senator.
And yet the American Bar Association has done something significant, made some significant accusations against you today. This is a letter issued last night, just hours before your confirmation proceedings were set to begin, that would almost be humorous in an inflammatory way were it not so personal, were it not so unfounded. The ABA has essentially called you a homophobic bigot. It's a deeply serious accusation with no apparent basis in fact. It's clear from your answers to my questions that this is not how you feel. The ABA letter went so far as to conclude that you were someone who refused to say that you could and would be fair to all litigants before you, that you refused to say that, and yet all of you heard that right now in response to my questions. He freely, openly acknowledged that he would. But casting personal aspersions at Mr. Van Dyke, of the sort that are most troubling, and would be most troubling if they were true, is not where this letter stopped. This letter went so far as to say that Mr. Van Dyke was not qualified to sit on the federal bench. Now, this is an individual who graduated with high honors from Harvard Law School, who clerked for a very prestigious, respected judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, who has served as the Solicitor General for 2 states, who has argued 24 cases, handled the oral argument in 24 appellate cases in courts of appeals, has appeared as counsel of record in 39 briefs before the United States Supreme Court, and has been involved in literally hundreds of appellate arguments. If this man is not qualified, I'm not sure who is. It should be noted here that some of the individuals involved in your evaluation, as has been mentioned briefly, are not exactly people without any political views themselves. And it's been acknowledged that at least one of the individuals involved in the review process in your case was someone who donated to your opponent when you ran for a judicial position in Montana. This is, of course, not the first time the American Bar Association has been accused of being partisan. In fact, in a 2012 study published in the Political Research Quarterly found after an extensive review of the ABA's evaluation process what it referred to as, quote, strong evidence of systematic bias in favor of Democratic nominees. Here, in this case, in your case, Mr. Van Dyke, the bias is even more obvious, more egregious, and the ABA's purported independence is hopelessly compromised. This does not mean that the ABA and its members don't have a right to whatever opinion they want to select and express. I'll defend to my dying breath their ability as individuals and as an organization to do that. But that does not mean they deserve an official seat at the table. In this circumstance, it reveals that they do not. The ABA has a preferred, widely envied, and unique position in this process. And with that needs to come some transparency and a significant amount of accountability. We have committee staff who work for us, and they're accountable to us in what they do. If the ABA wants a preferred position as if it were part of the formal process, it too needs to be accountable. It too needs to tell us how it makes these decisions. There's very little clarity or insight into how exactly the ABA ensures or in this case fails to ensure, the integrity and the objectivity of the process? Are the reviewers vetted? And if so, how? By whom? Are those internal roles clear? Are there internal roles for those involved? Are there prohibited activities on the part of those who were part of the vetting process? How is sensitive information? And how are anonymous interviews verified and assessed to make sure that they're fair? The time has come, Mr. Chairman, and all of my colleagues, for the White House and the committee to suspend the unique access that the American Bar Association has until such time as a thorough investigation and review is undertaken to inquire into how these functions are performed.
Thank you, Senator.
You, sir, have been treated unfairly. The ABA has lost its credibility as a neutral arbiter. It should be treated no differently than any other special interest group, which it is. Thank you.